Hey, boys and girls, and etc.
How's it go? How goes it?
It goes.
Goes good. There you go.
Yeah, but is he gone yet?
Might be soon. Don't. Let's not push it.
Yeah,
Let's not jinx it, shall we?
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
Anyway, teleology and teleonomy. The Evolution News doesn't seem to like teleonomy much.
Yeah, I guess they don't like us saying that like there's a parent design, because they take that to mean that we design we take it to be like an actual design from the creator or something like that.
Yeah. But I wonder how they apply that to the kinds differentiating after they left the ark. I guess that was all by design too, right?
I don't know. I mean, like they criticize us for having like millions of years like for evolution to occur in, right? But actually their model is like hyper evolution on crack. Yeah. Like to get the number of species that we have currently from, like a 6,000-year-old flood or 6,000 years in a flood, right? That's like this. You'd expect to see like something like 6 new species every freaking day.
Yes. So speaking of time, I tuned in for just a second over to SFT channel, and Kent Hovind had a pacifier in his mouth with a clock taped onto it or glued onto it, and he was talking about how time is our friend or whatever the hell it was, or some weird shit. And I felt a little nauseated just seeing Kent Hovind.
The thing is, like, Kent Hovind is about as effective. Talking to Kent Hovind is about as effective as talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
I mean, he just. It's hard to tell, like, if he just can't accept the information, or if he's just being, deliberately dishonest in like what he does and does not know. Yeah. Like in favor of like upholding his own belief.
I swore I even heard a laugh track. I don't know if I imagined I heard a laugh track. I think he's got a laugh track on his way. I think he had people in the audience laughing.
Huh. That's interesting.
So, does he actually have a laugh track machine? Or does he always have an audience for his debates?
I genuinely have no clue, because like Scott, where is he again? He's like in Alabama or something like that.
Or
like a bunch of farmers and stuff.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I was going to say Kentucky, but that's Kent Ham, isn't it?
I don't know. North Carolina.
So,
where's Dinoland?
No, it's in Alabama, I think.
Yeah.
And he does, and according to Dr. Dan, he does do creation debates with people in the room, and they laugh at his bad jokes. Yeah, kind of figures.
Yep. So, let's see here. Share a little screen for a minute. Kind of get us focused, hopefully. This is a paper that I have linked in the description, and it is on the evolutionary teleonomy as a unifying principle for the extended synthesis. And
for the people real quick who may not be exposed to that kind of vocabulary, what is teleonomy?
Teleonomy, so glad you asked. So teleonomy is described as Teleonomy is the quality of apparent purposefulness and goal-directedness of structures and functions in living organisms brought about by natural processes like natural selection.
Okay.
So it's dealing like with things that have apparent purpose. Not to say that they have actual purpose, really.
Right.
It's just that they have like this quality of appearing to have purpose. Whereas teleology is different in that teleology or finality is a reason or explanation for something as a function of its end, purpose, or goal, as opposed to as a function of, say, its cause. So teleology really is focusing on like what the final cause of something is, or like its purpose as an object, which that kind of language points you like towards like design arguments automatically.
Yeah, I think they. Let me see here. So it would seem useful to restrict the term teleonomic rigidly to systems operating on the basis of a program, a code of information. Teleonomy in biology designates the apparent purposefulness of organisms and their characteristics. So they kind of mean, I think it kind of derives from autonomy, right? Or automatic or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of making the point that that it's an automatic program that runs. Like if there was a robot basically that performs some function, it wouldn't really be doing it with intention. It would be doing it automatically based on some coding inside the organism or the robot. Right?
It's almost doing it out of necessity, right? Like it's almost doing it as a means of dealing with its environment and survival, almost.
Yeah. Before we get into that, let's take a little look at modern synthesis and let's see the modern synthesis. So basically, evolution at all levels results from the continual shifts in populations described by PopGen. Genetic mutation is a result of a haphazard process, errors in DNA or whatever. So mutation. The primary directionalizing influence on organismal evolution is natural selection, which likewise is free from any controlling process or system. Okay. So then, let's see, among the new ideas not included in the modern synthesis are contingency as a more primary actor in determining possible mutations. So, what the fuck does that mean? That means what there is, basically. And
right, it's kind of...
Should my brain be asking for a mechanism? Contingency as a what?
Bad brain.
Well, I don't think it's impossible to add kind of like mechanisms for these new things, but they're different in the sense like that they're computational theories of like evolution rather than kind of like mechanists, or rather than being kind of like the hard science we deal with, like with genetic inheritance and stuff like that.
I think what they're getting to is that once you have a set of genes or like a certain set of genes, you're not going to get mutations that it's going to constrain what mutations you can have that are going to work, right? So they're kind of getting to this idea that once an organism evolves, once you become a primate, you're not going to turn into a dog, right?
Well, precisely the law of monophyly.
Yeah, so I think that's part of the new ideas not included in the modern synthesis by Pigliucci and Muller. And then shifting focuses from individual genes to gene networks, which seems fair. Various new kinds of inheritance, including transgenerational epigenetic inheritance, niche inheritance, and cultural inheritance. And
those I agree with as well, right? Because if you consider like cultural inheritance, for instance, and even niche inheritance, you can argue too, right? Like there is a sense in which certain skills, like to create a certain niche in your environment, that confers a selective advantage, like towards your group of people or your species over another, is something that's passed down and does have kind of, I guess in some sense, like a representation in the genetic code, or like the way that gene is expressed to achieve that activity is embedded within the genetic code to some level.
So the influence of developmental biology on the theory of evolution. So that also concerns biophysics and what is physically possible for an organism to do based on regulation of genes and growth, that sort of thing. So that's evo-devo. And then the analysis of evolvability itself, which sounds like a pretty deep topic. Okay. So then let's see, Leyland, the extended.
So I guess we are caught in curiosity and will now read further because of these interesting though vague points.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I don't think they're vague necessarily. I mean, I think they're important points to like to gloss over, but I do think like they're vague in the sense that they could definitely go on more as to arguing like why these points should be considered central or kind of integral to a complete theory of evolution or a more complete theory of evolution.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them for them to set up make a case for each point as being valid.
Yeah, the thing is, the more we found, like back in when the modern synthesis from the 20s through the 60s, we knew far less about cell biology and molecular biology. And then as we found out that genes work in networks, and we found out that a little bit more about how mutations can happen and what the constraints are, we found out about epigenetic inheritance. And then we started to consider ecology. I remember back in, I think, the 70s, ecology was like the big buzzword in biology.
Mm-hmm.
It was like they just thought of it, they just figured it out. So a lot of this is, sort of the evolution of our knowledge of what organisms are. We knew one amazing thing is I've got a protein book from I think the 60s, and holy shit, they knew a lot about proteins and enzymes back in the 60s.
Yeah, what I'm curious to see is if Jonathan Bartlett has actually published more on this topic.
Yeah, somebody want to look him up and see what his background is?
Let's see. Jonathan W. Let's see. What is his background actually?
Jonathan?
So let's see, at the Blyth Institute, I believe it says, right? Let's see. This is 2017, you said?
Yeah.
Let's see. Looks like he does a lot of stuff in mathematics, actually, which is interesting.
Okay. Well,
so I'm not sure where exactly. I'm not sure why exactly he's doing stuff on evolution.
Let's pop ahead here through the paper. Oh my goodness, they mentioned.
I found the Jonathan Bartlett at the Discovery Institute.
Uh-oh.
Oh, really?
But maybe they listed. No, it's just a small little blurb that's on their website. Senior software R&D engineer at Specialized Bicycle Components. What? Focusing
That's
on
a little weird.
Mathematics, philosophy, engineering, and science.
Let's see if I can find the evolution news thing again. Okay, teleonomy and evolution, and then I went to the about page.
I'm going to put that link in the private chat and let me know if this is the same spelling as in the paper.
He did do 2 other papers related to biology recently, which are, let's see, he did a paper on active information as a specified complexity model, and he also did one called What is it called exactly? Measuring active information in biological systems.
Okay. Conclusion: unifying principles of subject perform several important functions. Let me see here where he goes with.
What's the Blythe Institute in Broken Arrow?
Anyway,
I've never heard of this journal, actually, though. Biocomplexity. I've never heard of it.
I'm sure it's there, but yeah, that might be worth looking up. The Blythe Institute, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Interesting. Okay. So, but he seems to have a fairly decent analysis of what's going on here. So I'm not, whether he's an idea or not. So let's see. Okay. So evolutionary synthesis. I hope you're not distracted while you're looking that stuff up, Scott. Your little investigator reporting.
Yeah, I'm doing a little. Am I being distractible?
No, you're not distracting me. I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if I'm going to distract you by going on.
Oh, I'm just going to put that in the Google real quick. Give me a minute. Tell a joke.
A joke. Why did the Hoven cross the road?
To bear witness to transitional forms.
I could say something really dark right now about why Hoven crossed the road.
Oh God, no! We are keeping this channel G-rated.
No, real dark, like concerning his pond. Anyway.
No.
We're not going to do that either. We're not going there either. No. Okay. What else can I say? Oh, to avoid the dinosaurs.
There we go.
Yeah, to hide from the dinosaurs, because the dinosaurs only exist in the park, right? Get it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
That's funny. Oh God, that was funny.
We don't want them dinosaurs out in the middle of Alabama to get out and start eating people.
Yeah. Those big, what is it? They have like big plastic dinosaurs, right? Like every now and then,
like velociraptors and T-Rex and stuff like that.
They got like 3 of them, I think, in the park. They look pretty shitty. They look like Godzilla in the first Godzilla movie back in the 50s.
God.
That was like, I mean, I was a little kid when that
animatronics. Jesus.
I was a little kid when that shit came out, and I was like, you know what? This is really crap production. Even back then, it was crap production. I mean, shit. Anyway, okay, I'm going to go on here. So,
yeah, I'm not sure what their goals are, but Jonathan Bartlett is all over that Blythe Institute web page. But there was something here about an article about guided mutations, which struck me as a strange name. I will shut up now. I'm just curious as the background of all this.
Do find out. Okay, building the future of science, Blythe Institute, Blythe Academy. Yeah, it's in South Carolina. That's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mathematics of the infinitely large and infinitesimally small. Information theory. 20th century was a time of pulling. This is from the Blythe Institute. Dissecting, compartmentalization, reducing everything to the tiniest part. Okay, without a doubt, these are the important steps in the history of science. However, new theories are understanding complexity and information in the universe. So, yeah, they seem like they are legitimate science of the kind that I really, really do like. Looking at it from that, rather than reducing everything to small parts, integrating the wholes with complexity and information. The information revolution is leading us to a science that brings the parts back, and that brings the parts back together. So anyway, it looks interesting. I don't know. You never. We're always waiting for creationists to jump us from the bushes.
That's true. You have
hijack
to be
our car.
ever so careful on your
because,
guard.
Yeah. Like, when I go out to get in my car, I always walk around my car and I check for creationists.
Yeah, we always look out for creationists to quote mine the hell out of a paper for things that sound the way for things to sound vague and,
Yep.
all that fun stuff.
Okay. So organisms inherit more than just genes and more than just by physical inheritance. Organisms not only have genetic and epigenetic inheritance, they have inheritance of behavior based on the nurturing of parents. And so they're looking at the role of the peers or the social group, right, affecting inheritance. That too is a kind of inheritance, right? Science is
right. So what they're describing here, I think, is he's alluding to the fact that like during embryological development, the sociological or the social behavior of the organism bearing this embryo is going to have like some kind of transmission. There's some transmissible like features that are not exclusively genetic in terms of like how the behavior of the mother is going to influence like the development of the embryo and how that newborn baby is going to respond to the world around it.
And that's going to feed back into whether or not the organism survives and reproduces.
Right. It's a type of right. It's a kind of what they're trying to call like social transmission.
Yeah. Okay, so then number 2 is reciprocal causation. Organisms shape their environment, which then acts on themselves. So you have populations of insects, termites, for instance, do a lot of shaping inside of your house, unfortunately, to allow the survival of the population. Yeah. Non-random phenotypic variation. Organisms are based in certain evolutionary directions rather than others. What's that?
Are biased in certain evolutionary directions.
Oh, biased. Oh, I said based. As reflected by available evolutionary phenotypes. So this is the part where you're constrained, basically, by what you are as to what you may become in the next generations, that sort of thing. So,
right. Essentially, what it's saying is that in many ways, an organism's evolutionary trajectory is kind of based upon the deck that the hand that it's been dealt at birth, right?
Yep.
If you have a particular niche to be able to digest citrate or to digest nylon or something like that, the evolutionary trajectory that organism is going to take is more than likely going to continue to kind of capitalize on that niche.
Okay, so Dr. Dan is here. We said evolutionary synthesis or extended synthesis 3 times, and Dr. Dan appeared because he don't like it. He don't like it much.
I don't see why not. I think it's a perfectly valid, like, attempted extension of evolutionary theory.
We really need to get him on here to tell us his viewpoint if you can.
We don't need no stinking extended synthesis. Right.
That would be one side of the debate.
We don't need no stinking path. Damn it. Anyway, okay. So, organism-centered perspective. Organisms themselves have a larger causal role in extended evolutionary synthesis as opposed to the gene-centered approach of modern synthesis. So, the whole of the organism, basically. So, but anyway, I want to read one more thing and I want to say something important to Danny. Macroevolutionary processes, the additional modes of inheritance will also lead to additional macroevolutionary processes. Now, what the fuck they mean by that? I think they mean by that we have to look at, larger dynamical systems. But overall, no matter what you have, whether or not the population survives depends on whether or not they reproduce, which is fitness. And I don't think there's any way out of that. I don't think there's any way to weasel out of the fact that shit that doesn't survive doesn't end up with its genes in the next generation, right? So I mean,
right.
So I mean that almost seems primary to this whole understanding, because like you can get kind of screwed up when you think about, culture. Well, does culture affect the survivability and the fitness? You have to look for the effect of the culture on the survivability and the fitness. And of course it could. It could extinct it, but it certainly ain't going to end up in the genes. What's that?
And almost certainly it does. I mean, you consider certain tribes that are very not tribal. That's a bit too brash to label it, but societies that are very much so, military based or concerned, like with protecting and guarding, like tribal barriers and stuff like that. So I mean, in a lot of ways, like based upon the needs of a culture, if you have like a niche within a group that is kind of biased to be one type of way over another, you're going to have social transmittance that predominates within that area as well.
Yeah, but we should never forget that suppose a tribe was completely wiped out, their huts were wiped out, everything was wiped out, their writings or everything, except for a handful of babies, like 20 babies, and another tribe come along with an entirely different culture and found those babies. None of that culture is going to get into that next generation. None of it. So I think that's an important little dash of cold water on cultural evolution. We have to understand that it is going to be the actual baby itself, or the zygote itself, or whatever. That's the only place that we have an opportunity for something to be inherited. So, okay, Nick.
We may want to take some time to highlight some of Dan's comments here.
Okay, yeah, he's correct. It's already, we already thought of that shit.
Is that what he said? Wow.
Okay, so he said that we should have a show where he poops on the extended synthesis, and everybody gets to yell at him. That's good. Okay,
but I mean, I wonder if the reason they're still advocating it isn't because they're not acknowledging it, but because they want it to be more predictive, like in the future, right? They wanted to, instead of just analyzing, like the short-term behavior of a population, can we predict this into like 10 years or whatever?
Okay, and then there's limited behaviors or inherited behaviors have genetic basis. Yes, that is very important. We can change behaviors by changes, for example, in hormone levels, but we're not going to change those hormone levels by changing culture, basically. So, yeah. So I think in the beginning of this paper, they make the case that how we think about the system is going to affect the experiments that we do. And it's going to affect in some extent the kind of information we get from going forward, the kind of stuff we look for, right? So
yeah, I think what it's trying to consider is the fact that, like, yes, it's true. Like, there definitely is a behavioral or genetic basis towards behavioral changes and things like that. But what it's considering again is a population, right? So even if an individual does change their behavior within a population, more or less, that's considered an outlier with respect to the norm, with respect to like the normal attitude and behaviors carried out by a population. So, what this is concerned with is kind of how behaviors, I guess, evolve and change, like as being a process regarding evolution.
Okay, so with those 4 or 5 comments, Dr. Dan has successfully pooped all over our evolutionary extended synthesis. But Dr. Dan, it sounds so cool. Don't you want to be cool? Don't you want to be one of the cool new kids? Just what the hell? Anyway, okay. So basically, yeah, and I got kind of the same impression when I listened to Cell talk about fitness. It's like nothing new. We knew that. We never thought the model was perfect. we never expected natural selection to explain every feature of an organism. So I don't know. I think Danny's criticism is it doesn't have explanatory power because the beating of the heart goes along with the pumping of the blood. Except everybody knows that the beating of the heart probably isn't a very big deal, right? Just from, common sense. So you can kind of figure out what was survival. What you can kind of figure out what was important for survival and what is not. And that's kind of what this teleonomy is all about. Like what is important for survival. Okay, so let's see. I did link that. Let me see. I thought I did link that ping. Imgur, the magic of. Okay, so I got this. Hang on a second here. Are we down a rabbit hole here, Mutable, or?
Apparently we are. We're talking about extended evolutionary synthesis now, and
yeah, kind of because the paper does, So,
yep.
Because the paper does, and the paper kind of makes a big deal out of it. Loki, no, not now. Go away and do not walk on the goddamn mouse pad, son of a bitch. What have I told you?
Loki.
Damn cat.
Loki is so bad.
He is bad. You never hear me yelling at Thor while standing on my.
I don't even think Thor exists. I never see him, never hear from him.
He was on camera. He's a white-nosed one. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. He's the one that I ate when I lost the bet with.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Uh-oh.
That's why I don't see him around.
Yeah, that's why I don't see him so much. You see him once in a while, even though I ate him, but you just don't see him all that often. A.jpg. Oh, let's see. Okay. What we're doing here, are we being...
We can't see the image. Or what I currently see is the paper.
Date blast open, date created. Created date. Yep. It takes a while to find the image in this mess. Okay. Did you pull that?
So,
how the hell did that happen?
What?
I don't. Oh, cool.
Oh, that line going through it?
No, I opened the paper and it opened it up in my preview, which is exactly what I wanted because now I have both the paper and the image. So, okay. Cool. Integrated synthesis, modern synthesis. So anyway, that's just a total picture, and I don't. So he's calling it the integrated synthesis. So Dr. Dan, this kind of makes our point for us that all of these things are important.
Right. I think what I don't know. I haven't read the paper, so I think maybe my impression so far is that these notions are kind of understood already in evolutionary biology. That they're conceptually understood.
Yep.
But it could be that they avoid quantization. It could be that they avoid being quantified in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
It might be a critique that these people are bringing up.
Oh, in 2015, Dennis Noble called it the integrated synthesis instead of the extended. So there you go. How do I add that to the PDF? On the Mac, if you sometimes, but not always, if you pop up a picture, it'll put it at the end of your PDF viewer. So I'm using Mac Preview, and Mac Preview will just keep attaching stuff. The unfortunate part about that is if you try to print out a picture, and you have like 3 papers open on this thing, it'll use like a ream of paper trying to print them all out at once before it ever gets to your picture. So that is the only disadvantage, but there's a way around that. So savvy computer programmers like myself know how to click the button that says only print that one page. Scott would understand what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some real technical stuff like the ASCII code, the ASCII code for A, 01.
ASCII being the American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Yeah,
as John likes to say, 010001, I think he says, or something like that. And it's and he's wrong, of course. He loves that one. He loves spelling out that 01001 is the ASCII code for the letter A. It's 01000001, motherfucker. Get it right. You're trying to impress us.
Yeah.
There you go. At least learn how to convert hex to binary in your head. It doesn't take long to learn. Everybody knows how to do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing like number system conversion.
Yes. Well,
you kept yours for 8 years, Dan? Wow, he's got a desktop that's 8 years old.
Oh my. I'm the trader.
Wow.
I'm the trader.
Did you do a lot of upgrades to it, Dan?
Don't you dare upgrade to the latest version of iOS.
I mean like upgrading memory and hard drive and stuff.
Anyway, okay. So here's where it gets into teleonomy and evolution. When asked about a mountain, few people would ask, "What is that mountain there for?"
Right.
Oh, there are a few. There are a few, though.
I have never asked that question.
Well, given that Tangelo has asked the question, how is it that that a proton has exactly the opposite charge and spin, right, as an electron? It would not surprise me that we get stupid questions like that.
Are there any other positive or negative charged things in the universe besides protons and electrons?
Yeah, so according to the standard model, there's every particle has an antiparticle, so
yeah.
So for instance, electrons, the antiparticle of an electron is called a positron.
Yeah.
Which is a particle with the mass of an electron, but just positive charge.
Right.
So
it's a little more complicated, as always, is the situation with creationists than
in addition,
electron, proton.
Yeah, so you also have the protons also have an antiparticle called an antiproton, which is a particle with negative charge, and it's like 1,000 times more massive than and it's the same mass as a proton.
Yeah, there it is. This is the part where I agree.
Gotcha. All right.
Agree very much with Dr. Dan. That, they act like it's something we hadn't thought of before, but yeah, they thought of it. And the thing with population genetics, when you do a model, when you start thinking about how to extend your model into the real world, if you are a programmer or if you have programmers working with you, you quickly get to the point where you realize that your programming project is going to cost more than sending a rover to Mars if you include everything, right?
Yep.
So the whole idea with population genetics is to trim that model down so that it doesn't cost that much.
I think one of the drawbacks, though, is that because you're simplifying it, you always have to correct it, right? You
always have to understand that its result isn't going to be exactly on the money,
Right. I mean, I think some people want to say, like, look, we should try and develop a more complete theory of things so that we have one algorithm or we have one program that's, able to run this thing with, as as high precision as we want to.
Well, we already have a model like that. It's called the real world. If we want to find out what happened, just go look.
Thank you, Solipsism 101.
Okay, but no, the best way to create a perfect simulation, or even if you're simulating something, the best way to simulate really complex systems is to get the data from a complex system and feed it into your simulation. You've heard of that, right? It's a method in simulation. So
what you're telling me is it's hard to construct precise dynamic systems that are complex with precise rules.
Yeah, but here's the neat thing about it: if you design a simplified system and you only have certain parameters, then you know how those parameters hash out at the end, right? And that is exactly the same as doing an abiogenesis experiment where you start with pure ingredients. You always end up with you end up knowing what your result is based on what your input is. Whereas if you were to feed in data from a real system, you wouldn't know how that data got there, other than that you put it there, So you see what I mean? I mean, if you want to learn something about population genetics, you must use simplified systems that give you somewhat not totally realistic results, and it will teach you something about a parameter. So whatever parameters you put in, you're going to be able to tell how they affect the output, right? Because you know what you put in there. Because at that point, it's mathematics. Okay. So back to this teleonomy thing. What do you think of teleonomy? They're immutable?
Yep, I'm still here. One sec.
You're here, but what do you think?
Regarding what? I'm sorry, my mind is kind of just fried.
Teleonomy.
Teleonomy. I think it's a valid point to kind of say organisms have an apparent or certain properties we see in the natural world, like say membrane channel proteins that channel certain ions through appear to have a purpose. Although that purpose may just be completely determined by the environment and related to the origin of that system.
Yeah, you see, even Mayer here was concerned that teleonomy is just going to fall back into the whole teleological system, divine purpose, or something similar.
Maybe. I mean, except for teleonomy doesn't state that things do have a purpose, just that they have an apparent purpose.
What do you got, Tucky? Oh my God, you do have something. Oh my God, it's a moth. Wonderful. My cat caught a moth. Yeah. Okay. He announces it when he comes in the door.
He's bringing you dinner.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's not a moth. It's something scarier looking. I don't know what the fuck he just brought in. He brought a snake in one time, and I told him that is not okay. That is not okay. Big old gopher snake. He drags it in the door, and it's sitting there hissing at him. Okay. Yeah. The shit I put up with. It's amazing that science ever progresses.
Huh. Your cat will probably a good thing your cats never will reproduce, because Jesus.
That's true. Yep. I neutered him. Okay. Yep. By random or happenstance. So he's right. They do, they do say that, okay, the big thing is the code, or the fact that there is something that codes for fitness or purpose, sort of. They're saying that how did the code get there, basically. So our job is to explain to people how codes get there, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Where's the highlight on that one? Because it looks like this page doesn't have highlights.
I don't have any highlights. I haven't read this far, so I haven't read that far.
Okay.
Yep. Mayer stated it this way: only 3 processes are known. 2. Does somebody want to read this while I go feed these goddamn raccoons?
Sure. Only 3 processes are known to change the genetic pool: mutation, fluctuation, and genetic. Let's see. Only 3 processes are known to change the genetic pool: mutation, fluctuation, in the genetic frequencies, and differential reproduction. The first 2 of the processes are not oriented toward adaptation. They're in that sense essentially random and usually inadaptive, although they may rarely and coincidentally be adaptive. By differential reproduction, it is meant that the consistent production of more offspring on an average by individuals with the genetic characteristics. By differential reproduction is meant the consistent production of more offspring on an average by individuals with certain genetic characteristics by those without those particular characteristics. If an organism is well adapted, it shows superior fitness, that is, not due to any purpose of its ancestors or of an outside entity such as nature or God who created a superior design or plan.
Yep. Purpose is pretty much something we read into the whole process. Basically, there's a process. And I think that's part of the problem. If we read purpose into the process of an organism's life, being alive, then humans will look at their own life and say, oh, what is my purpose if I'm just going to reproduce or not and then die? You know, that sort of thing. So reading purpose.
Apparently the guy that wrote this is also like very heavily involved in mathematics, so take that for what you will.
Yeah. Okay, so apparently, yeah, which channel is Joel going on about shit again?
Oh boy, Joel's going off the deep end. Here we go.
Calling it fluctuation is way out of date. Who called it fluctuation here? Was that Mayer again?
I think it was.
Yeah, that's pretty old stuff.
Not a lot of references at the end of this paper either.
There aren't? No, there aren't.
No, but this is like a critical essay, I think, more than a paper. So,
yep. Okay. Unifying the extended evolutionary synthesis with evolutionary teleonomy. Organisms exhibit purposiveness because of teleonomy. Evolution lacks any teleonomic driver.
I am so glad that Dr. Dan is in the side chats. It's been very, very entertaining. Kiss my ass.
Non-biologists telling biologists how to do their jobs. Kiss my ass. That's exactly how I feel about Danny's thing on fitness. But Danny, just kiss my ass, man. Fuck off.
Kiss my grits.
Yeah, fuck off. Yeah. That's pretty good. Did we determine where Joel is going off? What side?
No, Laurie, David got silent on that. I guess he's spying out YouTube channels for us as we do this.
He's working on stuff. Okay, I don't see Joel on John's channel, so he's not there.
Maybe on Praise's channel?
Huh? Probably on Praise's channel. That's where he likes to hang out. He likes to hang out with the rest of the stupid. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Well, it's pretty concentrated and stupid, so once you see one of them, you see all of them.
What happened to a softer, kinder speed of sound?
What did happen?
What happened? Nope, he's not over there, so I don't know, David. You better fess up. Yeah, somebody appreciates my comment about Danny. Okay, where do you want to go, guys?
We
opened up our. I actually did put the invite out in StreamYard, So we can go in any direction we want unless you have something focused that you wanted to address.
Not really. My mind is so tired that I'm barely able to focus on this. So
Did I outlate even you?
Yep, I don't know. My mind is just like fried. So if you want to continue this like tomorrow or something, I'm perfectly fine for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think. I think it's pretty simple. There is an automated system that operates in organisms. Now, the interesting thing is that organisms with nervous systems, actually, there's a system in all of us that automatically wakes us up in the morning. There's an actual system, that cycles, and it's actually based on photosensitive areas of your brain is hooked up to a couple of neurons in your eyes that actually wake you up when it gets light. And it's only about 2 neurons, and that runs this whole cycle, and it goes through. And then there's cycles in sleep, but the cycles are meant to activate and agitate the organism so that like if you watch a mouse, when it wakes up, it'll start moving around in its environment almost randomly, following scents and whatever. And so there is some motivating factor in almost every animal to move around and explore its environment. And that motivation is biologically ordained. I mean, it's almost like there's a little motor in there that turns on and gets, you can imagine developing a robot to do the same, right? Mm-hmm. And that is a really interesting aspect of the nervous system that it explores. But then when you go down to like an amoeba, which does not have a nervous system and does sort of the same thing, it's sending out these pseudopods in all different directions. So this whole thing of purpose or activity in an organism is old as life itself. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about mathematically, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I said, I'd have to think about it or like really meaningfully comment on it.
Yeah. Okay. I accept that you're tired. We can probably end the stream.
All right.
There's a whole lot of shit going on out there. I mean, I think Nephilim's probably going to pop up with an after show as soon as he has a few drinks. Let's see if he's already done so, because Kent Hovind was on, what do you call it? Standing and Poop?
No, I think it was Modern Day Debate. I'm not sure. It might have been. No, it was Standing.
It was on the Poop channel. It was with Atheist Junior. That new guy, the guy on the block that doesn't have a lot of subscribers that should have a lot more than he does. He does Hovind stuff almost exclusively, so it's kind of interesting. What just happened to my screen? Did something blip out and blip back, or did you pull me down and put me back? I don't know what you did. Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah. So I don't know. You might want to look at this paper and see if there's anything else that we want to cover. We could do it on a short hangout tomorrow, or we could get back to our the paper that we're supposed to finish tomorrow. Would be a better thing for us to do. Right?
Okay, Dan wants to plan an EES stream. That'll be super fun.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I could afford to learn more about evolution in EES. I think it's so far. I mean, I'm ignorant and I'm tired of shit. So, I think it's a fine idea, but it could be that people have already beat these guys to the punch on what they're asking for.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, you're always welcome in the stream whenever you can be.
So reach out to me, Dr. Dan, and let's, tear this thing down and see what the hell they're talking about. Love to have your opinion on Dennis Noble, because Dennis Noble is famously involved with these ideas who are providing the $10 million prize, right?
Is D'Onofrio as well?
No, I don't think anybody takes that guy seriously, but I don't think he's involved with that group, but he might be. Who the hell knows? I don't know. D'Onofrio writes brilliant stuff that doesn't really amount to anything, which is really cool because I think he's brilliant. Yeah, but and it's fun to read some of his stuff. But then when you get down to the punchline, you're like, okay, dude, you haven't really said anything. you're just making like really interesting mathematical statements about a complexity. And then at the end of it, he sort of winds it up and he tries to steer it into ID. And that's where he fails. So anyway, I don't know. And Abel is the same way. And there's another one involved in that little group, that little clutch. One thing about D'Onofrio is he produces, I think he's got literally hundreds of papers on this. Because I keep getting them new ones every day. It's really interesting. We need a hug unicorn. We all need a hug unicorn. Hug a unicorn emojis. Okay. Good. Oh my, there are bugs in the backyard. It's warming up here in Minnesota again. This is good. Master, the Hitler of bugs is going to put a bag out there tonight.
I need to read something to you. This is from scholars.google.com or scholar.google.com. A paper written by Jonathan L. Bartlett in Answers Research Journal.
Ooh.
Let's see. While this is a very useful first pass categorization of mutations, the realization that mutations are not always haphazard, but in fact may be part of a regulated design, means that creationists should be looking for a deeper classification of mutations based on whether or not they conform to their organism's design. Nice. Mutations are those which occur within the pattern expected by the genome's architecture. Blah, blah, blah. This guy is a creationist, or at least he's cozy with creationists.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's but what's interesting about him is that he didn't let that bleed into his paper.
Well, that's good.
And I
still don't trust him.
Oh no, we don't trust anybody. but you know, and he's kind of making. But he makes a really interesting point. If the ideas really want to be scientists, then show us how this works. Show us how this shows you that you have intelligent design. Don't stop until you can actually show us some goddamn results. And he is obviously, a serious mathematician looking for the possibility of showing mathematically that we can prove ID or not. And I don't have a problem with that kind of an approach myself. I mean, I wouldn't kick him off the bus. I'd listen to him. You know, and the same. D'Onofrio and Abel are the same. You know, I listen to them. You know, because I like to think that my mind is open to any possibility. If they can show us something like real, I mean, I'm going to give it to them, right? But so far, they haven't showed us shit. They just said, God did it. And that ain't enough. You got to show that the system that we have today could not have arrived where it was unless it started out, you know, at this basic intelligent design state, that there's no way for it to have happened any other way. And I'm pretty confident that they're never going to be able to do that, because that's not what happened. So anyway, but let them go for it, right? So I don't know. So this guy I would take more seriously than any of the others. Okay, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good attitude. Yeah. I can get behind that.
Yeah, we are, and that's coming from the softer, kinder speed of sound. My new belief I have turned over in my old age. I'm no longer going to call standing and poop an idiot.
Well, that's a start.
Yeah, I'm not going to call him a moron. I'm not going to call him a hack or a ShamWow salesman I'm not going to call him. See, what else can I not call him tonight?
Poop.
Okay. Anyway. So I'm going to end the stream, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Dan, for your comments. They were all very helpful.
They were. You straighten us the hell out, which I really appreciate. We all need that.
And of course, we appreciate. Apparently, David wants everybody to go to God Talk.
Oh, son of a bitch! He has a stream too. You didn't tell me that, David.
Secular Pagan Mom, we're always glad when you pop up in the side chat.
Yep, and we want you to come on
to the stream. I really wish you would. It'd be good to get to know you.
Come on to our weather report.
It was fun chit-chatting with you.
Yep, I will permanently. Well, we'll talk about that later. Okay. I got to get better at moderating some people who run on and keep other people from having a chance to say anything during the stream. Even myself, if I tend to do that, you know. Yeah, whatever.
I would say no. I would say plus it's your damn show.
Yeah, well, yeah, I gotta get my opinion out there. But I mean, everybody needs to analyze. We all have an opinion. Yes. Sometimes we don't need other people to hear that opinion. I love the little platitude that they give us in the 12-step programs that they say, enough about me. What do you think of me?
Yeah.
I love that one. Okay, guys, ending the broadcast. Thank you all.
Bye.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Bye. Bye now.